You know that person. You've seen them at the traffic light. You've seen them at grocery stores, at gas stations, parked outside small cafes. That round, cheerful little car sitting next to a row of sleek SUVs and aggressive sedans. It looks almost out of place, like something from a different era accidentally wandered into the present. And the driver, they're not embarrassed. They're not apologizing for the car with awkward glances. They're just there, comfortable, almost unbothered in a way that makes you curious. You've probably wondered, maybe just for a second, why? Why, in a world of touchscreens and turbocharged engines and built-in Wi-Fi, would someone choose this? A car designed in the 1930s. A car with an engine in the back and barely enough horsepower to beat my grandma. A car that some mechanics haven't touched in decades because they forgot how. Why does this person keep driving it? That's what we're here to find out. And I'll warn you now, the answer has almost nothing to do with the car. Let's paint a picture. The Beetle driver usually has a name for their car. That's the first thing you notice. It's not my car or the vehicle. It has a name. Something warm, something personal, like a family member or an old friend. Their car has quirks they've memorized, a door that needs a specific pull, a heater that takes 11 minutes to kick in, a horn that sounds more like a polite suggestion than a warning. And they know all of it. They've adapted their life around these small imperfections the way you adapt around a person you love. Their friends have said, more than once, just get a new car. And every time the Beetle driver smiles, not defensively, not angrily, just smiles. Like they know something the other person doesn't. That smile is where this story really begins. Now let's be honest about what people assume. The first assumption is practicality. They can't afford something better. The Beetle is cheap to buy, cheap to maintain, at least in theory, and costs almost nothing to insure. So the easy read is, this is a budget decision. A financial compromise dressed up in nostalgia. The second assumption is hipster identity. They're doing it for the aesthetic. The vintage look, the Instagram-friendly curves, the retro personality, they want to seem different. They want the car as a costume. And the third assumption, maybe the harshest, is that they're simply stuck. They haven't moved on. Still clinging to something old because change feels threatening. Because letting go feels like losing something they can't name. These assumptions feel reasonable. They feel logical. But that's where things get interesting. Because when you actually talk to Beetle drivers, and I mean really talk to them, something unexpected happens. They're not insecure about the car. They're not defensive. They don't feel the need to justify the choice to you. And that's strange, isn't it? Because most of us, when we make an unconventional choice, feel at least a small pull to explain ourselves. The Beetle driver doesn't feel that pull. And psychology has a name for that absence of need. It's called internal validation. The sense that your choices don't require an audience to feel real. The quiet confidence that comes not from what others think, but from what you know. So maybe the question isn't why they drive a Beetle. Maybe the question is, how did they get to a place where they stopped needing your approval? Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. The Beetle, more than almost any other car, is a relationship, not a transaction. When someone buys a modern car, they're purchasing a product. When someone keeps a Beetle, especially a Type 1, a car that requires patience, knowledge, and emotional tolerance, they're maintaining a bond. And human beings are wired to protect their bonds. We know this from attachment psychology. The things we repair instead of replace, the things we refuse to abandon, the things we continue choosing even when the logical option is to move on, those things reveal our deepest values. They reveal what we believe about loyalty, about continuity, about identity. The Beetle driver isn't keeping a car. They're keeping a version of themselves. Quick question before we go deeper. What country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. Now we're getting somewhere. Because here's what psychology consistently shows us. People don't make decisions, especially repeated decisions they defend against social pressure, based on logic. They make them based on identity. The question is never just what do I want? The real question is, who am I? And when you see a person still driving a Volkswagen Beetle in a world that has moved on, what you're really seeing is someone who has answered that question privately, quietly, and completely. They are the person who doesn't chase trends. They are the person who values character over novelty. They are the person who believes that worn, loved, and known is more valuable than new, shiny, and impressive. That's not nostalgia, that's a philosophy. And this is where the Beetle becomes a mirror. Because the truth is, most of us don't drive cars. We drive statements. We drive the version of ourselves we want other people to see. The successful one, the responsible one, the adventurous one, the practical one. We choose vehicles the way we choose clothes, with one eye always on the audience. The Beetle driver has stopped doing that. Or maybe they never started. And that raises an uncomfortable question for the rest of us. If you stripped away what other people thought of your car, your home, your job, your clothes, how many of your choices would remain the same? How many of the things you own are for you, and how many are for them? The Beetle driver has answered that question. That's why the smile doesn't need explaining. But here's the twist. Here's the part that makes this truly fascinating. The Beetle is one of the most recognizable, most attention-grabbing cars on any road today precisely because of its age. It turns heads. People photograph it. Strangers wave. Children point from back seats. So is the Beetle driver really escaping status performance? Or have they found a more sophisticated version of it? Because there's a psychological phenomenon called countercultural signaling. The idea that rejecting mainstream status symbols can itself become a status symbol. The person who says, "I don't care what you think," and makes sure everyone notices, is still playing the game, just with different pieces. And this is the contradiction at the heart of the Beetle driver psychology. Are they free from the need for validation? Or have they simply found a validation that feels like freedom? The honest answer is probably both. And that makes them more human, not less. Zoom out for a moment. Because this isn't really about Beetles, it never was. It's about the things in your life that you've refused to let go of. Not out of weakness, but out of something quieter. Something like certainty, like self-knowledge, like peace. We live in a world that is constantly selling us the next version. The upgrade, the improvement, the better model. And underneath all of it is a single message. What you have isn't enough. Who you are isn't enough yet. And most of us, if we're being honest, believe that message more than we'd like to admit. We upgrade not because we need to, but because standing still feels like falling behind. Because contentment has somehow come to look like failure. But the Beetle driver parks their car, their named, quirky, imperfect car, gets out, and walks away without looking back. Not because they're unaware of what they're missing, because they've decided that what they have is already enough. And maybe that's the hardest thing of all. Not fixing an old engine, not finding parts, not explaining your choice to people who don't understand it. The hardest thing is reaching a place where enough feels like abundance instead of defeat. Where the car that runs that you know that knows you is better than the car that impresses. Where the life you've built doesn't need a bigger audience to feel meaningful. The Volkswagen Beetle was designed to be simple, affordable, accessible, the people's car. That's literally what the name means. And maybe there's something profound in the fact that the people who still drive it aren't clinging to the past. Maybe they're the ones who figured out the future first. Because what if confidence was always quieter than we thought? What if the things we refuse to let go of reveal not what we fear, but what we've finally understood? What if we don't drive cars to show the world who we are, but to remind ourselves? So I'll leave you with this. Think about the car you drive, or the car you want, or the one you gave up because someone told you it was time. If someone studied your choices, your car, your habits, your refusals, what would they learn about you? And more importantly, would you be okay with what they found? If this made you think, share it with someone who drives with their identity, not just their hands. And don't forget, what country are you watching from? Tell me below. See you in the next one.